Dude, seeing Superman get angry in this episode, it was epic. And how they showed it was pretty amazing. And what are the implications? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my spoiler talk review for Superman and Lois Season 1, Episode 6, Broken Trust. I think overall, this was an incredibly good episode. One of the things this episode made me think about is this from Ephesians 4. Be angry and do not sin. Don't let the sun go down on your anger, and don't give the devil an opportunity. If I broke that verse up into 3 segments, I feel like this episode does a great job going through it and illustrating everything that was said in there. So overall, this was an incredibly good episode, and it's kind of interesting seeing the anger of Jordan and the anger of Superman, and seeing how Superman's learned to keep it in check. Although, you remember earlier in the show, we have that evil black-suited Superman from Captain Luthor's Earth, and he was mowing down all of those people with his heat vision. So what are the implications when we're seeing Superman get mad?
Yes! Yes!
Yo, that's what I'm talking about! Yes!
With Jordan so far, we've seen his powers, his abilities. We've seen it give him a sense of identity, and with that, a sense of confidence. Now he's on the Smallville Crows football team. He has friends, where he had all of that anxiety before. He's doing a lot better, and we've seen his character improve over the last 5 episodes. So what this episode does is it flips the script a little bit. His powers are growing and evolving, and now a sense of responsibility has to come out of it. And what's interesting is it's a lot like Smallville now, where we see Clark kind of struggling with the unfairness that he wants to live a normal life. He wants to have friends, but these powers and abilities kind of lay a heavy burden and a heavy responsibility on him. So now in Superman and Lois, we're seeing Jordan feel the weight of that burden. And I think this episode opens in a very intense way because, Season 5, good golly, Durbin, Episode 5 ended pretty epic with Tag coming in and beating the tar out of Jordan. Like it was just, there it is, it's over, now you gotta wait, who knows how long for Episode 6 to drop. Well, Episode 6 is here, and it was a really great open. It was worth the wait. It wasn't just some whatever kind of fight. It was incredibly important to the structure of everything that's going on, because it still leaves you wondering, how did Jordan's heat vision mingling with that fire, and I'm sure the X-Kryptonite underneath in the mind, how did that burst work to give Tag abilities? And how is that something that Morgan Edge is going to capitalize on later? I would love to hear your theories on that in the comments. Those are things I was thinking as I was watching it. But as we see Tag beating the ever-living tar out of Jordan, we kind of hear this high-pitched hum.
Ever since that night, I've been different.
And so we're seeing like this beatdown is triggering something. So I'm curious, again, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Is it the physical beatdown that kind of awakens something in Jordan, or is it the emotional state that he was in? But something was triggered inside Jordan with his powers and his abilities. And what we see is the next day he's in school. First off, you have Clark saying maybe you should set out the big game. And I think this is interesting because here you have Ephesians 4 saying, be angry and do not sin. You get to this next part that says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. What that's saying is don't hold on to that anger and hold on to that negativity and let it transform into bitterness. And so as Clark is talking to Jordan here at the breakfast table, he's saying maybe you should drop the big game, but you really see Jordan wants to play the big game because everybody on that team was very cruel to him. And now that he's sort of found himself, he has this identity and he's really good at tackling, he wants to show them who he is. And those are the words he's using. Like he's become a new person in Smallville and he wants to show these people who he is. What I like about that is I can relate to that. I mean, haven't we all had bullies? Haven't we all had people that have been jerks to us? And then we go through a process and we change and we're stronger and we want to show them who we are. We kind of have that part of us that wants to get even. I totally understand that. So I can completely understand where Jordan is at and why the game is important. But I also understand what Clark is saying. He's saying, in case this messed with your abilities in some way, we need to make sure we have a handle on that. And you can't have an episode where you hurt people on the field. And Jordan's saying, it's all right, I got it. In the meantime, you have Jonathan who's just eating a bowl of fruit. And I hate that sound. Like when you have the metal fork scraping against the glass. Gosh, I hate that noise. But they do a good job with it because they amplify that noise. And then they have this shot where you see the sun kind of glaring in Jordan's eyes. So you really get that sense of the full irritation of the sound. And he's hearing it in this really big way. So like, that's really interesting. And we're seeing now something is triggered and something is different. And then of course, when he's in school and Jonathan shuts the locker and it's like this super loud noise. And then the bell rings and he almost shoots heat vision all over, burning down the school. But he's able to kind of rein it in, control it, and not let it go. And, you know, get Jonathan to not tell Clark about this episode because that's how important the big game is. So I feel like they've done a good job where I understand why this game is important for Jordan. And for Jordan's sake, I want him to play the game. For the sake of the school and everybody else and Jordan's conscience, I don't want him to play the game because I want him to not, you know, accidentally hurt somebody. So we get to the football game. And what I like about it is I get the feeling here. So it's kind of intense when the whistle blows and Jordan's like standing there like doing this because like, you know, that's the buildup. That's the trigger. Something is going to happen now. And then Jordan takes out Carter, that dude who's just an absolute jerk, like takes him down and is like standing over him and kind of gloating for a little bit. And Clark says, you need to rein that in. And that was a good moment for Clark and Jordan because it's true, like he was getting a little cocky. But again, it's like emotionally, we get it. We understand where he's at. And I think this episode did a good job bringing us into that moment where he's at. And something interesting, rewinding a little bit, I thought it was interesting Clark had that giant log in the cellar and that his dad, Jonathan, you know, used it to help him hone his ability. So it was cool to see all the fist prints of Clark Kent on that log. And so when Jordan punches that log, there's a very key moment there where Jonathan says, hey, imagine that this log is Carter's face. So you're really seeing he's let the sun go down on his anger.
Imagine this big log is Carter's face. He's just laughing at you.
Bitterness is corrosive. And now we're starting to see that come out on the field here a little bit, that he's held on to that. And so Clark is trying to help him rein it in. But what's awful is as Metropolis is losing against Smallville, and they know they're going to lose, they all gang up on Jordan. That sucks. New identity for him, newfound confidence, and they attack it. They all gang up on him. They all know they're going to lose. So Jonathan gets to make the touchdown, which is a great moment because he gets to show what a good quarterback he is because their quarterback was injured. So like, it's supposed to be this great moment for Jonathan, but the whole Metropolis team is ganging up on Jordan. And, you know, Jonathan's all concerned because what about his abilities? What is this triggering? And we hear it. We hear that high-pitched hum. We know it's being triggered. How amazing when Clark comes there and he puts his hands in front of Jordan's eyes. He goes, let it go now. And he just shoots fire, man. And you see Clark like wincing under the pain. That moment is just so well done. Just the power in it because you can feel Jordan's emotions. He wanted to show them who he was on the field. And he did. And they came, ganged up on him, beat the tar out of him, just like what happened at the beginning of this episode. So it's like all these powers, all these abilities, great football player, and still he's being beat down as that sound begins to build. And what's incredible is when Clark is there and he puts his hands under his helmet and he says, let it go. And his heat vision hits Clark's hands. It's like he's letting that pain and that rage just fly, and Clark is taking the pain of it. I mean, part of it is the secret. You know, he can't let anybody see this. There can't even be scorch marks on the field. But to me, there's like this greater picture of Clark taking his pain or feeling his pain with him. And one of the things it says in the book of Hebrews is that Jesus understands us. We have somebody who understands our pain and understands what we're going through. He knows it and he never leaves us or forsakes us. And he's right there in the toughest moments, which leads into this scene in the hotel room where Clark is talking to Jordan about the responsibility of his powers. And this is a teenager thing, but it's legit, right? He doesn't think Clark can understand how he feels. And he says, I'm not like you. Kind of this pristine picture of Clark that his dad is perfect and he's flawed. What he's doing is he's comparing Clark's outward appearance as Superman and a hero to his inward struggle without even a thought to the fact that Clark has been through this struggle. And yeah, Clark has grown and matured, but Clark also still struggles. Like there's no thought to that as he's going through this. And Clark is trying to explain that, yeah, I understand. And when he gets that call from Lana, and he's got to go off and he's got to go find Sarah, who was taken by Tag, and he's trying to get there before the DOD does, because the DOD is just going to take care of it however they can. And he cares about Tag. He wants to help Tag, so he wants to save Sarah, and he wants to get there first so that he can also save Tag. But it's interesting because he tells Jordan and Jonathan what to do. Stay here in this hotel room. And he rushes off. Now, some of the Smallville team comes. They want to go hang out and celebrate. You know what? That's awesome. But what they want to do isn't awesome. They want to use some fake IDs, go get some drinks they shouldn't be getting, and hang out where they shouldn't be. And Jonathan is like, we can't do that. And Jordan says, well, we won the game. We might as well. Which takes me to this next verse. And don't give the devil an opportunity. And that's exactly what happened here. The devil was given an opportunity as the Metropolis team shows up, making fun of the Crows and really making fun of Jordan. Now, what's amazing about this scene is I understand the rage and the anger that's rising up in Jordan. I mean, honestly, can I just be honest? I wanted Jordan to punch that dude right smack dab in the face. Like, that guy was asking for, like, literally, he's like, come on, do it.
Cutter, let him shut me up. Right here, baby. Jordan.
He was asking for it. But here's what was amazing about this scene. We see Superman's anger and Jordan's anger. And it's kind of like the way this scene is edited together. We understand what Superman is feeling by what we're seeing Jordan do. Because Jordan is getting incredibly angry. Jonathan is trying to stand between them and separate it. Jordan is not having it. And as the guys do that stupid move, just asking for it quite literally, Jordan just gets the fist and he's ready. I mean, it's coming in slow-mo and you know it's going to be bad. And then Jonathan catches the fist to come between them and you just see his hand go limp. It's also incredible the parallel of seeing Jonathan come between Jordan and Carter as you're seeing Superman come between the bullets and Tag. So through Jordan, as he's feeling that rage, we can also feel Superman's rage as he's getting more angry. At the same time, as we see Jonathan's nobility and coming between the huge punch that is coming that Carter can't survive, we see Superman coming between Tag and the bullets, which is something Tag can't survive. So you actually see what's going on in both sons happening in Superman, and it's this incredible parallel. There he finds Tag and Sarah, and he's trying to explain to Tag, I'm here to help. But the DOD shows up. They're using live rounds to try to subdue Tag, which is already ticking off Superman. So he stands between Tag and the bullets, saving his life. But that one dude, he's got a gun with kryptonite shards! And it hits Superman square in the shoulder! Oh! And when Superman hits the ground and Jordan's fist hits Jonathan's hand, it's like an amazing, impactful moment because it's an illustration of the rage, the betrayal, and the anger that Superman is feeling. It's showing us Jordan and Clark aren't different. What this scene is showing us is how much the same they really are. And Clark's, his eyes just glow red. Oh my gosh, the rage when he pulls the kryptonite shards out and he tosses them and he blows them up with his heat vision, and Clark just rushes up to that guy, the eyes red. Oh my gosh, like I could feel that anger that Clark was feeling, but you see him just take that breath. Well, actually, you don't see him take a breath. He just pulls it back. He calms it down and he says, stand down, and they all stand down. Now, it's interesting because you see there's a wedge now that is really beginning to form between Clark and Sam. And this goes back to this alternate Earth, you know, where Clark looked like he's the enemy in the black suit, and he mows down all of those troops, including Sam Lane. And also when you see his anger, you do kind of see the similarity in that evil Clark, what Clark could become if he truly yielded to his anger and truly allowed bitterness to corrupt him. And so when we're seeing him mad, we kind of have this comparison, and it raises the stakes a little bit because it's like, whoa, is it possible that our Clark could become that? Is that going to be the arc of this season where we're really going to see his anger and maybe Jordan's going to be the hero that takes all the lessons Clark taught him and helps Clark walk it back? So like there's these implications to seeing Superman this angry, having seen earlier in the season the black-suited Superman who was, for all we know, evil. So it's very interesting that we saw that earlier in the season, knowing that's going to have to come into play somehow. And so it's going to be curious to see Clark and Jordan's character arc as this season continues. Be angry and do not sin. Don't let the sun go down on your anger, and don't give the devil an opportunity. I think all the aspects of that verse were pretty well showcased in this episode. Yes, we're human. We're going to be angry. It says be angry. And then it says, and do not sin. So in other words, there's a better way to deal with our anger. We saw Clark try to give Jordan better ways to deal with his anger and even said, hey, stay in the hotel room. But he didn't, and it gave opportunity as the Metropolis team came and, did their thing to push him over the edge. And man, now we have Jonathan with a broken hand who could probably never be the quarterback again if he got to work to regain full motion in that hand. That's like a pretty big sacrifice for Jonathan as he stood between Jordan and that dude. And think about that sacrifice Jonathan made, and he did it without even thinking. But if Jordan had punched that bully in the face, it probably would have killed that bully, which would have effectively ended Jordan's life. He would have had that to regret all of his life and all the consequences, and I'm sure that this would have revealed Clark Kent as Superman to the world. When Jonathan stood there and intervened, he saved the bully's life. He saved his brother's life. I mean, that was a major sacrifice that really saved a lot of people. And so what we see is this: we need to seek God first because we're human. We're going to get angry. And you know what? There are things to be angry about. But be angry and do not sin. And when we come to God first, he gives us that strength that we need so that we don't let the sun go down on our anger. We can't let that happen. We can't hold on to it because it's our right and allow that negativity, that anger to become bitterness, which becomes this corrosive, corrupting force. Jesus says, forgive. He forgave the very people that nailed him to a cross. He has the strength to do that. And when he lives in us, he gives us his strength to do that. He is faithful to meet us where we are and strengthen us to do what we need to do so that we can be free of that corrosive bitterness. There's a lot of other really interesting things in this episode. For instance, you have Captain Luthor as Marcus, and he and Lois get into the caves, and she sees X-Kryptonite. They're almost killed by what's that lady's name? Lars, the assistant of Morgan Edge. And so, she gets to see Marcus with this, I don't know, what is it? Death ray? Actually, it looked like the heat vision ray, that he had a way to create that heat vision. And so she's seeing this and knows he's not a reporter. There's something different about this guy. And, she was really laying it into him, but then Jonathan was hurt and she had to go. So I'm going to be curious to see now as Lois investigates Marcus and what she uncovers. The fact that in the other Earth, you have Captain Luthor and her who were husband and wife. So what is that going to uncover? What is that going to do? How is that going to play into Clark, the black-suited Superman, and the anger we saw him face in this episode? Is this going to be a continuing character arc and something that's going to continue to come up? And now you have Sarah kind of wondering a little bit about Jordan, because she saw the video. Tag showed her the video of the bonfire exploding, Jordan being right there, and so it's okay, is she making the same connection Tag made? And it sounds like she is, saying hey, he was just confused and he didn't hurt me. And so if there's anything different about you, if there ever was, you could talk to me, right? And it's really sad the way Jordan just felt now the burden of these powers that at first he thought was bringing him closer to people with that confidence. It seems like now it's pushing people further away because Sarah is his best friend, the woman that he has this huge crush on, and he had to lie to her to be no, I'm normal.
I think some stupid part of me actually thought that the powers would bring me closer to people, but all they really do is bring me farther away.
Again, it's the same burden Clark Kent had in Smallville. And then as he cries in Lois's arms, as that emotion kicks up, we see something happen with his powers as he falls down on the porch and Clark has to rush him to the fortress. What an amazing cliffhanger. Where is that gonna go? So this episode has done a great job laying groundwork for some really interesting things ahead, and I can't wait to see what is going on with Jordan. Oh, Jor-El thinking, yeah, he's got no powers. Whatever, Jor-El, you're wrong, man, and you are gonna have to say sorry stupid hologram, Jarrell. Anyway, so to be curious to see where we go with all of that. What did you think of this episode of Superman and Lois? Let's talk about that in the comments. While you're there, hit the subscribe button to become a Durbanian, and hit that bell by the subscribe button so you're notified for my next movie review, ranking video, theological analysis, and anything else I do here. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.